Hi everyone, we're Hannah Ava Jacob and Angel Sarah Mathew, and we're recent IB alumni from the M21 batch.
Today we're going to give you some of our advice and things that we wish we did to cope with the IBDP program.
So our first question is IB that hard? It really does depend on what you're hoping to get out of IB and why you joined it. So to be honest, IB does require a lot of crunching, especially if your aim is to do well and get a really high score. But please don't get discouraged by all the horror stories. It is absolutely doable, and getting discouraged early on is not going to help. So go above and beyond to the extent that you can when it comes to mock presentations or exams, because all of it will help in the end.
What CAS activities should you do? Honestly, we think that you should just do fun activities that you're really interested in. Consider CAS as a sort of break from your academics in the IB and use it to channel your creative side. It would essentially act as an enjoyable way for you to enhance yourself as an individual, especially in the areas of the IB learner profile. Also, use this as an opportunity to collaborate with your classmates outside of the classroom. However, we would greatly suggest you to try to conduct activities that are fun, yet still challenge you to work outside of your comfort zone. A few possible online CAS experiences that you can do include starting a blog, taking up an online course, joining the school MUN and HMCA club, joining an online conference, joining a hackathon, and etc.
Our next question is, how do I manage my time in IB? So you should really prioritize efficiency and progress over actual amount of time worked, and definitely try to enjoy your work because it'll make time fly a lot faster. Something else I found useful when doing a task is to set a timer. So for example, I'd set a timer for 20 minutes, and having a specific time frame made me feel more motivated to actually get something done within that time, instead of just sitting at my desk and getting distracted all the time. Is TOK useless? So that's an interesting question. While TOK doesn't seem to have any practical applications to your future career or studies, there is some logic to it. TOK is supposed to test your ability to interpret knowledge objectively and see all sides to a situation. It makes you question why you think the way you do, instead of just taking all knowledge at face value. So you learn how to rationalize things, see a situation from all angles, and read between the lines, and you can then take that and apply it to life.
When should you start preparing for the exams? So we would highly suggest that you finish your IAs and CAS requirements by your first year, or at least by the first 1.5 years, so that you can really focus on your exams by the end of the IBDP program. This wasn't issues that most of us faced during our time in the IB, where we were like 1 to 2 months before the exams and still had IA requirements to complete. So we would really suggest that you don't make the same mistake as us. So start practicing year-wise past papers as soon as you guys are done with the syllabus. So I would say that you have at least 3 to 4 months to prepare. So how do you choose your EE subject, and how do you go about the writing process? Choose a subject or topic that you're personally invested in and that you're sure is going to motivate you to write a lot about. Make sure to read the EE report of the specific subject that you're taking in order to understand what the examiners are looking for, as well as to understand the grade boundaries. Meet with your supervisor regularly to discuss your progress. Also read sample EEs that scored high marks, and make sure to decide on your subject as soon as possible so that your supervisor has not reached the maximum limit for the number of students that they can supervise.
Our next question is how to prepare for specific IB subjects. So keep in mind, we're just going to go over some of the subjects that we've actually done in our time in IB, so we're not able to cover all the subjects that IB does offer, but we'll try to go over most of them. So the first is Group 4 Sciences, so these include biology, chemistry, physics. For Group 4 Sciences, study guides and past papers are your best friends. In sciences, there's also just some things that you really must memorize, and there's no other way around it. And another thing that I did when I was studying for the IB was going through the science syllabus guide. highlight the bullet points that you don't really recognize or not familiar with, and then watch IB YouTube videos on those specific topics.
For English, remember your acronyms like TEEP, CALIM, and PEEL for analysis for your paper 1. And for economics, memorize the definitions, real-world examples, and make sure to know the structure for each kind of question, like D for the 10-mark questions and CLASP for the 15-mark questions. And always remember like the pros and cons for policies so that you can manage your time well during the exams in order to evaluate well. And for maths, you just practice and practice a lot of past papers and focus on the subjects that you think are hard for you, like, for example, calculus, statistics, or probability.
So for Indonesian ab initio, but this also applies to just all of those language ab initio subjects, you should know the different kind of formats. So for example, for a letter, for an email, for a blog, etc. For some reason, there's like a difference between the format for a formal letter and an informal letter. I don't know, whatever it is, just make sure you're familiar with all of those. And also for languages, practice definitely does make perfect. And something else that you could do is when you do past papers, actually underline those new vocabulary words or words that you don't know the meaning of, write their translation underneath, so that later on when you go back over those papers to revise, it's a lot easier to know what the context of the text is. Our last question, any final general advice? So we really think with the IB, you should manage your time and effort wisely. Like, doing the best that you can on your IAs is really important because it's the one factor that is completely in your control. But if you all are going in the exam route, especially, don't forget that your exams are the make or break. Like, it's worth 80% of your grade, so make sure you're well prepared for that as well.
So that would be all from us today. We hope that you learned something from our tips, and good luck on your IB journey.
Bye!